I didn't realize all that happened over that period of time. I don't care to read a speech usually, but with the short time frame, I'm going to try to do it so I don't get carried away. As I look over this audience, if I tried to thank everybody I worked with or worked with me on many projects, we'd be here all night long, different school board members and colleagues. But I'd like to start by extending my thanks to those persons responsible for establishing the Ventura County Educators Hall of Fame, and to those businesses and individuals providing the funding to make this very worthwhile endeavor possible. I'd also like to congratulate the others who are part of this first class of inductees into the hall. Many of them I worked closely with over the years, so it's a special honor to be here with them. I'd particularly like to thank Chuck Gives for his nominating me for this high honor. In January 1993, the Ventura County Board of Education followed my recommendation to appoint Chuck to fill my unexpired term as Ventura County Superintendent of Schools. It was one of my best recommendations and one of the best actions taken by the county board. He and his staff and the County Board of Education have done an excellent job following in the footsteps of their predecessors in making the Ventura County Office of Education an important connecting link between local school districts and the state of California. As I read in the paper last week, the initiation of a new school for the autistic in Camarillo by the County Superintendent's Office, and also 2 weeks ago, I believe, we had the dedication of the new Education Service Center and the Conference Center in Camarillo. It's very obvious to me that Chuck and his staff and the board are still doing things on the behalf of the students and parents of Ventura County, and I applaud that. I'd like to introduce a few of my guests. I don't think probably the large crowd in the back could see them, but at least I'll recognize them at the second table over here. My wife of 50 years and still my girlfriend, Ann. She raised your field. I have a few of these, so if you'll, thanks for applauding her, but for the rest, if you hold up for a minute, I have a few I want to cover here, so maybe we can applaud them at the end. Also, my son here, John, is a teacher in Chico. He flew down today and will fly home tomorrow. And along with that, my daughter Janice from Anchorage, Alaska. She brought with her, of course she didn't bring all of her family, but she's involved as a respite caregiver for special needs children in Anchorage, and brought with her her foster daughter Ellie is here with her tonight. And then behind the pillar, near the pillar there, is a favorite of mine, my daughter-in-law, not my sister-in-law, my daughter-in-law, Maureen. She's married to my son Jeff, who's not here tonight. He owns a recording studio in Ventura and does all the sound work for Billy and Franklin Graham around the world. So he's back east with them now and leaves shortly for Asia for 3 weeks. But Maureen, I'm happy to have her here. She's the parent of my 2 grandsons and the grandmother of my 2 great-grandsons. So I'm glad to have Maureen here tonight. The other family member, Jimmy Hitch Banhart, is at the table too. Is happy she could join us tonight. And also, along the way, if anyone thinks that things were accomplished that have been described by Chuck were my doing, they would be pretty naive. It was done on the part of a lot of people, a lot of good staff that helped and get all these things accomplished. And I invited 3 of them to join me tonight. One, Dr. Bob Ponce, who'd been my assistant superintendent, and over on the table next to him was Lucy Alforce Breeze, who was my secretary for many years, and actually was my Sunday school teacher when I was in high school. And along with next to her is Shirley McLean, who was working in the office when I started. She was just out of high school. and by the time I left, she had risen as the director of finance for the county office. And without all these things, building schools and getting the Oxnard Air Force Base, she was invaluable to me and was my right-hand girl in all those things. Another good friend who came tonight is sitting actually with Jack O'Connell, because he coached Jack when he was in high school, is Charlie Dunn and his wife Maggie. They're our closest friends. Charlie and I went to high school together. We played on the CIF championship basketball team at Ventura and on the national runner-up team at Ventura College. We've lived less than a mile apart for the past 35 years and see each other at least a few times a week. So I'm happy that they're here, and especially here to honor Jack. The regional occupational program would not have gotten off the ground without the strong support of the County Board of Education and the Board of Supervisors, and with a big boost from the Taxpayers Association. At that time, they had to levy a tax to finance the regional occupational program. They believed in the merits of the program, and it proved that even when approving a tax was not popular, Kathy, for the other supervisors up here. The science fair would not have happened without the strong support of the scientists and engineers at Point Mugu, and without the classroom teachers and parents working together on science fair projects. If I ask you to raise your hand if you've been involved as a teacher with science fair projects or with it as a parent of children, I think more than half of you would raise your hand. The mock trial program could not have started without the leadership and strong support of Judge Steve Perrin and his colleagues on the bench, who actually held trials in their courtrooms at night with our teams, and also the local attorneys who served as the coaches. The academic decathlon required the strong support of high school principals and teachers when we started that. Mont Michelson, who will be honored later, provided great support for me as he allowed us to use Rio Mesa High School the Saturdays that we had the super quiz and also the awards dinner. And Ventura Star Free Press editor Julia Skias, Tim, your predecessor, was always our quiz master and did an excellent job. Along with that, Julius met with me for lunch one day, and we talked about establishing a Top Scholars Award program, similar in thought to this program here, only for students in high school. He felt that we awarded many awards to athletes, but not to our top scholars, and we started the program at that time. Strangely enough, we had it at the conference center, now named after me, in Camarillo. I barbecued lunch for about 150 high school students, and Julius and the Star Free Press provided all the awards. That program is ongoing today with Chuck and with Tim's leadership, and now I think they have it in a nice hotel somewhere and still provide that great honor. So my point in bringing these up is the fact that any of these things accomplished were not accomplished by an individual. They're accomplished with the efforts of strong support from the board members and the staff, educational colleagues, caring and supportive community members. And that's how these things are accomplished. And I'm so proud that, having been in Ventura most of my career, that we have a caring community. We have caring board members. We have caring city and county officials that care about education. So it's actually been a great privilege and joy to be able to serve in this role during the times that I worked here. Wilson Riles, when he was state superintendent, became a very close friend of mine, primarily because second year in the job myself, I had to run for election. Wilson Riles was running for election against Max Rafferty, and after the primary, Wilson had 17% of the vote. Max only got 45, so they had a runoff. People thought I was a little crazy running around supporting Wilson Riles when I was new in the office myself, but he prevailed and did a great job during his time in Sacramento. He tried to get me to join him in Sacramento as his deputy superintendent, but I felt that I could do more for him from my role here than I could trying to run a 2,500 employee operation in Sacramento. I think that turned out to be true. Later, Wilson, when he retired, he went to work for a headhunting firm, Korn Ferry, one of the biggest firms in the country. And on a couple of occasions, he called me to see if I would want to take over the job as LA Unified School District Superintendent or the Superintendent of Dade County, Florida. In each instance, I told him that I thought I was probably right where I belonged here in Ventura. And I think that was a good decision. When he introduced me to Mr. Korn, when Wilson had his retirement party down in Los Angeles, he did introduce me to Mr. Korn, and he introduced me as the guy from Ventura who had been raised in Ventura, spent his career in Ventura, and his dream was to be buried in his backyard. And I actually think that's a pretty good goal. I just hope it's not realized in the near future. I'd like to close with just this following comment that I used when I used to give some of the speeches to our teachers and so forth. It's a quote from Harry Frischman. "If we work upon marble, it will perish. If on brass, time will efface it. If we rear temples, they will crumble into dust. But if we work upon the immortal minds of youth, they will brighten to all eternity." I believe that's a very noble thing that we all as educators are involved in. And I'm proud as much as anything for the years I had as a teacher. And I still feel that I am, even though I played a different role. Thank you so much to the committee, to the officials here to give us these awards, and to all of you for your help over these past years to make education in Ventura County a better opportunity for the young people that we're charged to work with. Thank you very much.